to the home of Urban Frog Tackle. Today we're going to be continuing with our series of short films regarding our launch debut product, the REEL RAPZ. We're going to be talking today about use one. So use one is on the back of your pouch there with all the descriptions of all the 5 uses. So use one is line saturation, whether that's mono or braid with the use of water, just water alone. So as we've said so many times before, you're soaking your REEL RAPZ with bottled water or lake water. Generally get some, match the hatch lake water, get some from your lake, and then that allows you to top up your soaker bottles as you go. So what we're going to be looking at today is, in front of us is the display that we had at the Essex Carp Show earlier this year, that we had at the Big One show, the fishing show in Farnborough, and what we're going to be taking to the Doncaster Carp Show on the 5th and 6th of April. So hopefully we get to see you there. And what we're showing today is the understanding of fluorocarbon and unsoaked monos, and the memory, curl, and how poor they are, and the frustrations and issues that they cause against soaked monos. So what we've got today is we've got the same 3 lines that we've shown in the other uses films. We've got the Krypton, we've got the Fox Soft Steel, and the Ridge Monkey fluorocarbon. So 2 monos and a fluorocarbon coated mono against, at the moment, we're showing you here, we've got the Gardner Tiger line, but it can be any fluorocarbon. We've also used the X line as well in our displays moving forward as well. So I'll show you first the fluorocarbon. So as we all know, fluorocarbon has got a lot of curl, a lot of memory in it. It's quite difficult to work with. I've always struggled with it. You need to walk this up the bank, straighten this out under tension. It needs to go on really well as well. It's quite difficult to put on. Otherwise it bites into itself, so it restricts casting. And then once you've stretched it out, you've still got to reel it on like this Bezier spool, a 45mm diameter spool. So it's going to be wound back onto a tight spool, putting memory into it again. And then when you cast that out, if you're tight line fishing, you've got all the issues that comes along with that. But we'll discuss slack line and tight line fishing moving forward, and the effects and issues that brings to watercraft. And you might want to pull up a chair at that point and get a cup of tea, because it's going to get quite involved, quite technical, quite scientific. But what you've got with fluorocarbon is that if you want to slack line fish with that, once you've put that on the bottom and you allow that going from being cast tight, that's going to spring back together. So very difficult to slack line fish with this. I don't think there's been enough done on underwater filming to actually show the effects of trying to slack line fish with something with a lot of memory that's going to coil back and spring back if you do let it go slack. As well, along the same, so the Krypton there, so quite a lot of memory. Find this one's quite springy, not so much memory. It's nice to cast, it's got a lovely coating on this, and it does suck up a lot of water as well. So all of these lines are all pretty similar. They all soak up around a 40% increase in their weight. So the soft steel, as you can see, quite a lot of memory in there, quite springy. The same with the Ridge Monkey fluorocarbon. Got a lot of memory, very springy. So all 3 of these lines, the same as all of these other lines, unsoaked, are really frustratingly poor to use, and all of the issues that come along with that. But as soon as you soak these lines, so a minimum of 12 hours with standard, like we've just said, lake water or bottled water, once you soak these lines, look at these lines, lovely and limp, hug the bottom contours of the lake bed, get underneath those fish, and again, watercraft that we'll talk about in a bit, it really, it's amazing. You can get down, get nailed down, and get these monos as heavy or heavier than fluorocarbon. Some of the monos, like the real basic stuff, like the Dawa sensor line, really cheap, increases in weight by over 45%, becomes heavier than fluorocarbon. Something like the Avid Outline Camo reel line increases in weight by about 45%. This line is stunning, goes super limp, very heavy, casts like a dream, goes heavier than fluorocarbon. So I was just talking about the different styles of lines and the effects of water and how the different style of lines cope with absorbing water. As we said before, the GR60, the Touchdown and the OGX are bigger, heavier lines, a lot more coarse, a lot more wiry. They do take on water. Some of those take on up to sort of 44% increase in weight. So again, become heavier than most of them, become heavier than fluorocarbon, but still seem to have a bit more memory in than some of the other lines. So the Synchro, a bit more memory in that. Monocast Ridge Monkey is pretty good. As we said, the Avid Camo Outline line is not too bad. Dial sensor, as we said before, quite good. So against braids, if you're going to spom, marker float fish, and you ain't soaking your braids, you're looking at wind knots, frapping, and a lot of problems. Why put yourself through that? Get your spom rod, get your marker rod. We tend to strap them to our bivvies. So when we want to spom or marker float fish, they're ready to go, and then the wind blows through them, the braid dries out. Keep your reel wraps on your reel like this. It's on there, excuse me. It's on there all the time, soaking your line on your spom, your marker rods, and when you then want to cast 100 yards with your spom or your marker float, and you want to find somewhere you've seen a fish jump or whatever, and you're going to stick a spom of bait over the top of it, cast your rig over it, or you want to look for another spot and it's a bit further out, you've got a lot of weed, you want to cast 80, 90 yards, you're going to be able to do that. You ain't going to be frapping up, and then you've got to unpick. We've seen it on loads of videos, even the top fellas, they frap up and they have to unpick all their line. Put this on, no more problems with braid. Fishing with braid, amazing. Braid, as we all know, will cast miles, cast 150 yards, not a problem with low diameter braid, as long as it's soaked. Gets all that air out of it. It allows your braid to the best it's ever going to be to try and sink when it's fully saturated using the reel wrap. So it's a bit of an understanding of braid fishing there. But getting back to monos, soaked, unsoaked and fluorocarbons, when you're casting out a fluorocarbon line and you've straightened it out and you think you've got it nice and straight, those fluorocarbons are rigid, they're stiff. And when you're looking at the topography of the lake bed, we've got these roadways that carp will use. There may be a trough going across at 40 yards and you're fishing past that, and those carp are coming through there, swimming into your line. If you've got fluorocarbon on, that line's brittle, it's straight, it's stiff, it's going across that. If you've got a group of pads, or you've got a dying weed bed, or a new weed bed coming up and you're fishing over that, your fluorocarbon will be coming off of that quite stiff, quite apparent, quite brutal, quite blatant right across your swim. Now there's concerns about that. If you're going to tight line fish, so what, you would say. I'm tight line fishing anyway, which I'm going to discuss a little bit about tight line fishing. But if you're mono fishing as well, you're going to have the same effect if you're fishing with mono, same as you do with fluorocarbon, with it being going taut, rigid. The only way really with unsoaked lines or fluorocarbon is to fish with tight lines. And I'll get back to that. But if you slack line fish and you've got super supple line, your line will follow all of the contours of that lake bed. But you still need to understand what you're doing. When you cast out and you feel that lead down, you don't want to be dropping a back lead and then your line's bowing like this and you're trying to pull it down over weed beds, because you still going to have the same thing. Well, you want to be casting out, feeling your lead down and letting your line sink, slowly sink. So putting your rod back on your rod pod, your bank sticks, whatever, and just letting that line settle. You know, you're not pulling it, as long as you ain't got a crosswind and your line's cut through the surface, get it underneath the surface first, then let it naturally sink. You can then, once it's sunk and you're happy that you're slack line fishing, you can then slide a back lead down. But you don't want to be sliding a back lead down and pulling your line down through the water, because it's going to be doing you no favours whatsoever. But slack line fishing, you can see, if you're slack line fishing and you've got slack line like that and you cast it out taut and you let that go, you know it ain't springing up. If you cast the same line out that's got loads of memory in it and you pull that taut, it's going to spring back. There's no way of slack line fishing, in my opinion, with curled, high memoried mono or fluorocarbon. You need to soak your line, sink it, get it below those carp, so you are slack line fishing properly. So let's get really technical. If that wasn't technical enough for you, let's get really technical. So you want to tight line fish against slack line fish. Some people say to me, oh, if you slack line fish, you don't know when you get a bite. And then some people say to me, if I'm on tight line fishing, if my lead moves, I know I'm in, I've got a fish. The reason to bring this to the market and the understanding and the science behind it is watching this go on firsthand over a 3-4 year period of actually watching a fish, picking up the lead and seeing how they react and how they're getting away with it. I just recently done a work party over a lake that I've fished for about 10 years. And this same conversation comes up time and time again. I see the guys, they're tight line fishing and they say, well, I had a line bite last night at 8 o'clock. Another guy doing the same. I had a line bite last night at 8 o'clock. I thought something might happen. There was fish in the area, but I didn't get a bite. Now, my perception of that is those fish are coming into the swim and they're searching for lines. They then know that you're fishing. If you ain't there, there's no lines, they're comfortable, they've got nothing disturbing them, they don't know they're not being hunted, they're coming in and they'll feed in an area that you're baited up, and they'll feed quite happily, no problems at all. You cast a line out and you cast a taut line out, you're letting every carp in that lake know that you're in that swim. It's the biggest piece of equipment that we use, that we put into that carp's environment. It's not your hook, it's not your rig, it's not your lead, it's 30, 40, 150 yards of line. We're putting it out into their environment. If we're putting a straight, taut line out, we're telling all those carp we are there and we're hunting for them. If you put this line out, soaked, and it's hugging the contours of the bottom, and you know that you're getting below those fish, and it's sinking down, and you're no longer letting those carp know that you're fishing for them, that is ideally the best way, in my opinion, to be. Get your line sunk, get it hugging the contours of the bottom, getting it below them, super supple, watercraft. They don't know you're there. There's no blatant line cutting across your swim. So as those fish are coming in, they bump into that line, 8 o'clock at night, like the guys were saying, whoa, we know we're being fished for, we're up the other end of the lake. Someone's baited up there, I'll go and feed on that, or I'll go and feed in the weed where the naturals are up the other end of the lake. I know that I'm going to get caught here. You might get the odd one that comes in from the opposite side of where the line is and picks the bait up straight away. So you're not going to spook them, but 9 times out of 10, they're swimming around in that area, they're searching out for lines, and you've spooked them off. Soak your lines, get below them, cover all the contours of the bottom, hug those contours, nail that line down, get below those fish. Do not let them know you're there. Watercraft. One of the major things you're always hear top anglers talking about is watercraft. So get below those fish, and that's the way forward, in my opinion. Line bites, spurious bleeps, you need to know when you get a bite that you're going to hit it and there's going to be a fish there. So what I like to see is that when I cast out and my line is taking on water, like we've discussed, like this, and it's trying to sink, I set my bobbins, set my alarm, I'm going to bed that night. If I get a bite, I want to know that it's a fish. I don't want to be standing there thinking, what was that bleep? Was it a fish? Wasn't it a fish? When you've got soaked lines and it sinks down and it's set, and you set your bobbins and you set your bite alarm and you're ready for the night, that ain't going nowhere. You get a bleep, the likelihood is that's a fish, that's a carp, and you're going to get another bleep and you're going to hit it. If you're fishing with unsoaked monos and it's hanging up in the water and it's sinking, you'll have to keep paying out line, resetting your bobbins, a couple of hours later, pulling off more line, resetting your bobbins, and you're going to get spurious bleeps throughout the night, which is going to startle you awake, and it's come up another inch, and your line is taking on more water and pulling your bobbin up. You get out of bed, you've got to pull more line, and then you wake up in the morning and you find your bobbins are tight up to the top, your line's come up where it's fully soaked, but it can't sink no more because you've not paid no more line out because you've been asleep all night. Those carp see that and they're doing one. You're putting all your effort into paying for all this bait to get these fish there, and then you're scaring them off with your line. So my opinion, slack line fish, get below them. There's then this concept that I hear quite a lot. Oh, what about this fish I caught a few months ago, or I lost this fish a few months ago, where someone's tight line fishing and that fish, they're saying, oh, I lost, the lead was gone, so the fish lost the lead. Tight line fishing, so with tight line fishing like this, that carp has taken the bait, they got a bleep in the middle of the night, didn't get up and hit it, tight line fishing, oh, it was a line bite. That carp has picked that rig up and then it's kited left or right, and it knows that it's dropped that lead, but that line is still taut on that fish. He knows he's still hooked. Slack line fishing, he loses that lead, he doesn't know he's hooked, and he can then run whatever way he wants to, get out of there, he thinks he's got away with the lead, and you get a proper bite and you hook that fish. Tight line fishing, that carp does that lead, it's hooked, it then kites. It kites on a tight line. You get this a lot with bream, single bleeps and that as it's kiting. A lot of carp, they'll kite, and they'll kite right round into the margin, not giving you, they've been around, these elusive bigger fish that I talk about, been around forever. They know they're trying to kite on a tight line, not giving you any more bleeps, getting into that margins, getting into that snag and getting you snagged up. And then I hear it all the time, these guys say, I woke up in the morning, went to reel in, and my line's round in the margins, and you've reeled it in, and I'm stuck. And they've gone out in a boat to a snag, or they've gone down the bank, and the carp's done them in the bank they've shot the hook, or the fish is still on, and now they're trying to get the fish out of the snag. It's the word I was trying to look for. So they've now got the carp out of the snag, and they're now playing the fish and they've landed it. 50-50, or that carp has done them, got rid of the hook in the snag, and now you're like, why? I was tight line fishing, it's dropped the lead, but it's kited on this tight line. They do it all the time down into the margins. Slack line fishing, you're underneath that fish, you're on the bottom, they've hooked them, they've got the lead on. Now they know they're hooked. Shake the head, drop the lead. They now think they've got no weight of line on them. They then run off and give you a bite. Or where your line is hugging the bottom contours of the lake bed, that's where we get really scientific now. Your line is hugging all the contours, and there's all that friction of your line. When your line is taut, there's no friction, it's hanging up in the water. They can just move sideways without any restriction whatsoever. When the line is slack line fish and it's on the bottom, wherever they move that line, it's got all of that surface area that line is hugging against. So wherever they move it, it will move your line. And when you're underwater, when you snorkel, again, getting a bit off subject here, when you snorkel or you go fishing and you go down deep, you feel that pressure on you. Your line is pressured down. You know, it's being pressured down against that lake bed where all that friction's in place. That line that's being hugged against everything is as heavy or heavier than fluorocarbon. It's as heavy as it can be. That carp kites, it's going to pull all of that line, and you're going to get indication. And you're going to know, because you've soaked your line, that it's a bite. You're going to get up and you're going to hit that and you're going to catch a fish. Or you'll get used to understanding that that is a bite and you're going to catch fish. So tight lines, the carp can kite. They can feel the line, even though they've got rid of the lead. People, oh, it got rid of the lead, so how did it do that? How did I not know? How did I not get a bite? Because you're tight line fishing. You're slack line fishing, you'll get a bite because your line is hugging all the contours at the bottom, and it will get caught on every little twig, every little bit of gravel, and anything that tries to move that line in any direction, you will get indication, in my opinion. So slack line fishing, soaking your line, is the way forward. That is what we are suggesting to you guys with the Reel RAPZ. It's a complete line management system. 5 uses, soaking your line. As you can see within this short film, such an in-depth conversation, soaking line, slack line fishing, hugging the bottom contours, not giving yourself spurious bleeps overnight where you're having to reset and pull out line and reset your bobbins. No more. You get a bleep, you want to know that it's a fish. People tight line fishing, getting taken on a natural curve into a snag and not knowing. Slack line fishing, getting a bite and being aware. At least this film hopefully will start some conversations about slack line against tight line fishing. I feel from what I've viewed over my 35 years of carp fishing and 3 or 4 years of really watching fish with this product and understanding why I need it is why I brought it to the market. It's why I believe you guys and girls are going to get so much from this product that's going to improve your carp fishing. So this is use 1 in the 5 uses videos that Urban Frog Tackle have brought to you about our debut product, the Reel RAPZ. Have a look into it, think about your fishing, put the odds in your favour. Catch those bigger, more elusive carp by getting your line underneath them so they're not aware you're there. You're not tight line fishing, you're not spooking off those big elusive carp that are used to seeing this, and then you're underneath them, they don't know you're there. It's watercraft, it's putting the odds in your favour. Catch those big elusive carp, catch more carp using our product, the Reel RAPZ. I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot for you guys to take on board, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. You found this information useful for you guys moving forward in your fishing, and I hope you get a lot out of it, and hopefully see you soon on the bank. If you use the Reel RAPZ and you're catching some lovely carp and you've put your line on your reels and you've got some lovely photos in it, send them in to us. I love to hear how you guys are getting on, and thank you again. Hope you've enjoyed it. Goodbye from Urban Frog Tackle. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.